more often than not, uh, in the past, I probably wouldn't be recording this video right now. However, I'm trying to prioritize investing in the long-term success of whatever this ultimately evolves to. So obviously, this is the start. So I was just thinking that I probably should share like who I am with whoever decides to view these videos. And I didn't want to be all over the place. So one of my journals I decided I'll dedicate to essentially organizing my thoughts so I'm not just rambling. So when I started writing stuff down, I realized this is going to be impossible to do in one video. So today, I'm really just going to focus on my childhood, describe my opinion, my perception, my experience in the family I was raised in and the circumstances I was raised in, with the people I was raised around, but try not to take 3 hours to do it, because part of prioritizing this is I'm doing it first, so I still got to go to work. So let me try to get through this. So anyway, I was the baby of 3, so I was a mama's boy, as they say. When I was young, my mom was the most important thing to me. I didn't want to be away from my mom. Like, yeah, it was terrible. So, like my siblings would probably say I never got in trouble. I feel like I did. At least I do have memories of times I felt like, man, yeah, that was just crazy what happened. And I was really hurt. Like the person that I associated with life, like my everything, like would like do that to me. And so with that is some confusion, conflict, probably unresolved issues, at least to an extent, because we don't talk about these things. We don't address these things, at least not in my family, in the majority of my community. I, thanks to my dad, feel like I've always been more open to actually having real conversations, because for all of his flaws, I do feel like my dad always kept it real, as they say. I don't feel like he was always honest, or at least didn't end up being. I believe he intended on doing a lot of things that he said he would do, but he wasn't the type of person to follow through. So, yeah, my parents was at opposite ends of the spectrum. Like my mom was very religious. We was in church all the time. Everything revolved around the church. Most of my family was like that. Most of my family, yeah, I would say most of my family was like that. I don't know that most of them are like that now, which, including myself, is kind of like, you got to look at the results, right? Just because you were taught something or exposed to something, that doesn't mean that you have to stick to it or that it even makes sense. So I feel like from my dad, I really got the quality or characteristic of being very open-minded, very realistic, that things aren't black and white. There isn't always going to be a set standard for things to be a certain way, and two things can be true at once. You can truly care about people, truly want the best for them, and still not be able to provide that, still be a negative influence. So anyway, that's my parents, and I'll probably dive deeper into that some other time, but I want to get through the rest of it. So my older brother, I don't feel like we were ever particularly close. Um, I always view him as a bully. I feel like he was either bullying me, trying to embarrass me, or ignoring me. Um, and I really wanted it to be like me and my brother, but he was more concerned about his friends. He was more concerned about girls. He was more concerned about partying, cars, whatever. And I wasn't really into any of those things. So over time, I just felt like the the distance, because of the difference in our interest and personality, it was just this huge divide between me and my brother. And I also felt like in some sense, like he abandoned me. So my parents got divorced when I was young, and I wanted to live with my dad because when I was young, I idolized my dad. Like he was just a superhero to me. I was the kid that was like, my dad would beat your dad up. I was that kid because my dad was a prison guard, and like he used to show us all this martial arts stuff, and like I just thought my dad was so like. And then all the stories I heard about my dad growing up was like about him fighting people and beating people up. So like this is the image of my dad. So it's just like you couldn't change that. So I wanted to live with my dad. My brother wanted to live with my dad. And eventually, after a couple years, I say, of my parents being separated, because there was a time after my parents separated that I lived with my mom, and I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, like my dad was like that guy. But my dad was so messed up. My dad was like, and I don't I don't say that like with any type of anger. It's just like, that's the reality of the situation. It's I'm just telling what it is because I really love my dad. And I'm like thankful for all of the stuff that he taught me, exposed me to on the good side and the bad side, because I don't feel like I would be the man that I am. I don't feel like my brother would be the man that he is, which is also something I'm proud of my brother. And I do feel like going forward, we will have a much better relationship because as adults, we do have a lot more in common because of how we grew up. We both are extremely driven, ambitious. So, that aligns more than me worrying about sports and him worrying about cars and girls. Because now we both about trying to create generational wealth and educate our kids and contribute to the progression of our family. So I see a lot of good things, in the future. But again, it's just to tell y'all about the past. So like we got to move with my dad after a couple years. And when we moved into the situation, so we moved with his girlfriend and her son, who was our only child, who was like super spoiled. So now we like invading his space. And that's my little brother. I love him. I'll get to him in a minute. So I gotta share a bed with this dude. And I don't even know. I'm not gonna name names because like I don't want anybody to be embarrassed, but like y'all know who you are. So my little brother, like I gotta sleep in the bed with this dude, and he is a couple years younger than me. So I'm in like 7th grade. So he in like 5th grade. We gotta share a bed, and this dude pee in the bed. So like I'm getting pissed on every night. Like this shit crazy, but like he's super spoiled. He got every toy under the sun, whatever. And it took some time for us to really like bond because I can understand, we essentially ruined his life in his eyes. And so I'm sleeping in the bed with him and my brother Devin. I just said I wasn't gonna say names, but anyway, my oldest brother, he's sleeping on the floor in the living room. Like this situation crazy. So we was latchkey kids, you know. When we got home, we was the only ones home. I used to get home and like me and Travis used to eat. Well, there it is. Again, I ain't gonna be able to not say names, so forget that. So me and Travis used to always just eat like peanut butter and jelly and fish sticks and stuff like that. Like they had a cookie jar. We used to always be in the cookies, but like those were some of the best times I had because once me and Travis like bonded, I had a brother because I never felt like I had a brother with Devin. So man, now my dad moved out, and now I'm really seeing the type of person he is. The first thing that kind of struck me was once we went to go stay with Carolyn, I overheard a conversation, and it was like she made a comment that they been dealing with each other for like 8 years. So obviously that registered to me that he was cheating on my mom with her. I felt like she didn't necessarily like me at first. So this was a crazy situation, but I mean at the time it was just life. Looking back at it, I can see like how messed up that sounds, but in the midst of the situation, you just in it, you ain't really processing whatever it is. So eventually my dad moved us out of Carolyn's apartment. So we moved into the projects. So me, him, and Devin moved into the projects, and it's 3 bedroom. We got a basement, it's 3 stories. And at that point, it really was kind of just put out there that I was on my own. Like from my dad, like, man, it's on you. One day you're gonna be in the world, you're gonna have to take care of yourself. I ain't doing nothing for you. So like figure it out. Like I had to learn how to cook. He showed me certain things and he taught me stuff, but he was like, he wasn't doing anything for me. For a short period of time, it was the three of us. And then sometimes Travis would come over, and like, I never even realized, because now I got a whole collection full of Jordans and Kobe's and like probably worth pretty good deal of money. But at the time I had all Jordans, and Travis went and cut my whole collection up. Like, so this was just crazy. My Uncle Keith came. He was always around. That was my mom's little brother, and he was a big part of my childhood. So, and then it's like Devin just bounced. Like, and I can't imagine what Devin's life was like, because my dad was, like I say, he wasn't a good dad. And I've always thought like this. I got the best version of my mom and dad because they already had 2 other kids to kind of go through the learning and growing pain. So if I got the best version of them, I hate to imagine what the worst version of them was. And that's not a knock on my parents, just saying, like, we taught what we taught. And like our family passed down a lot of stupid stuff. And I'm glad me and my brother, at least, and my sister are trying to break these cycles because it's just ridiculous. So, I mean, now that was my childhood. So I had a brother that I don't feel like really wants to be my brother. I'm like searching for a brother because I really wanted a brother. So like Anthony, like before Travis, because my mom, through the church and knowing people, like networking, like she tried to at least have us around decent men and put us in situations where we were around other people, like people didn't necessarily come from where we came from, weren't necessarily the same economic circumstances, so on and so forth. So my brother Anthony, like, man, I love that dude because I finally had a big brother. Like Devin was never my big brother. He was just like, I was a burden to him. I was a nuisance, And it's like, man, this is what it's like to have a big brother, and I love that dude. So, and I still got so much love for that dude, but like, we grew up and like he living his life. I reach out to him from time to time, but we're not really close no more. But like, I wish we were, because like in my life growing up, that was my big brother. So, then I'm in Jackson for a couple years. Feel like Devin abandoned me. Now I'm dealing with my dad solo and all of his nonsense. you know, drinking, drugs, different women, drama. Finally, I got away. I'm fortunate my parents were mature enough to let me go live with my grandparents, and I'll forever be grateful for that because I feel like I got the benefit of everybody. Like there are a lot of things that I got from my mom that contribute to me being successful. A lot of things I got from my dad, a lot of things I got from my grandma and my grandfather. So if you remove any of those influences, I don't feel like I would be close to the person that I am. So, you know, just a transition. But like looking back at it, I heard a statement that you can't connect the dots going forward. You can only connect them going backwards. So when I look back at my life, a lot of things make sense. Like why I was always adopting brothers. You know, I got one biological brother, but like people that I consider my brother, like throughout my childhood. So Anthony, Travis, Timmy, Nate, CJ, and Steve, like all these my brothers. Like, so because the one that I had, I didn't feel like he was for a very long time. So, and then my sister, because basically this is the people that shaped me. And then I'll get to my grandparents another time because this is already long. So my sister, that's like my best friend now. But when we were kids, we weren't particularly close. I don't think I really cared for her like when we lived together. But at the same time, it was my sister. So I always felt like it was my responsibility to protect her and take care of her. So like, nah, you better not do nothing to my sister. Like, cause I will fight anybody about my sister. And like, I never, like, we weren't really that close. It's just like, I felt like that was my responsibility. But because I behaved that way, I think that's why we became close, because I was always taking care of my sister. So then as adults, then it's like she had that respect for me. She at a certain point, so it's like my sister's opinion of me is really what got me through a lot of stuff. But when we was young, like I don't even really think we was close, but now it's like my best friend. And I'll probably get back into a little bit of this, but I'm gonna cut this right here. But that's at least part of the foundation of who I am and why I'm doing what I'm doing, because like anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. So I'll talk to y'all another time. Peace.